Hello and good evening. My name is Yasmin Euphemia, aka Sugar, and I'm here today with
Beverly, and I'm aka UK Fluffy Chick, and we are the founders of Support a Sis-Star Network.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi Kay, how you doing, girl?
Hi, Bev. Good to see you. I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. I think that you best do the introductions because I seem to have lost my notes.
She's fired. She's absolutely fired now. No, I can't fire her. I need her too much. So yes, Kay. So Kay, you're here to discuss with us a project that you're working on, and I'm excited to hear about it because I don't know what it is, but yeah. So first of all, before you get into your project, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Kay, and I'm originally from Tottenham, North London. So I grew up with Beverly. We went to Bruce School together, and I'm a long-standing friend of the family overall. I lived in Tottenham, and I left home at quite an early age. And that wasn't because of my parents. My parents are lovely people, God bless their soul, because they've passed away now. But yeah, I left home because I was that sort of person. I was quite ambitious and eager to get out there in the world. So I've worked in various jobs over time, mostly financial management, but I never really, pushed it. And that's because I don't know, I found in myself that it just didn't excite me enough. There's something always lacking. So I want to say late in life, well, I'm mid-age now.
You're young girl.
Young girl, early 50s. I started to work more with young people and in care. And so this is the project I'm going to share today, is my setting up of a supported living unit for young people with complex needs, leaving care.
Wonderful. That sounds excellent.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does. So,
so you come from a financial management background. How long have you been working with young people?
Right. So I think I got my first job because, back in those days, when you left school, I left home about 16, 17, believe it or not. Lived in a little hostel for a while. Like I said, my parents were lovely. It was more to do with overcrowdedness rather than me falling out with my parents. Then I purchased my first home at quite an early age. So I was blessed to be able to do that because back in those days, houses were quite relative to earnings. So it's not like today where you've got a lot of young people who are unable to buy their first home because there's such a disparity between house prices and earnings. But anyway, I worked from then in financial management from 18, all the way up to, I would say, 2002. So I did some accounting qualifications, very basic ones. So I made that clear, I'm not a qualified accountant, but I do have a degree in business and finance. And I did a bit of mortgage brokering as well. So, but that all was within that period from 1988 all the way up to 2002. Then I stopped working for a while to become a stay-at-home mum when I had my two last children. My daughter's 17, my son's 15.
Wow, them get biggie.
Unbelievable.
Definitely. I know. All that the naming ceremonies. It's like, oh my God.
They've grown so much, and they're a blessing. And again, I love my children, but I'm not really a maternal type. I'll be honest. I don't think I am, but I try to be a good mum. So I was at home with them, but I found myself, not feeling challenged enough. I put myself under a lot of stress. So I went on and did a master's to become a career guidance practitioner. Yes. So I'm a qualified careers guidance practitioner, or careers advisors, people may know them as. That meant I would visit schools all around London, schools in deprived areas or where they felt there was social deprivation. And some of these areas you look at, such as Hornsey, an area of deprivation, no way. This is an affluent part of Harry. But the way they measure deprivation is based on free school dinners, the amount of young people who are registered on the road for free school dinners. So even though area houses are over £1 million and all the rest, they still have a high percentage of pupils that goes there on free school dinners. So so I've been to loads of schools all over London, and the purpose of me going in there is to try and, I don't say break, but in a way that's what the government wants, because it's their initiative, especially myself being a Black woman, going in there and to inspire them to break traditional ties they may have, not in culture wise, but in terms of, especially in East London, for many white working class families, it's generational, where they may leave school at 16, get married, have children, and just work the same jobs their mum, dad, and grandparents were doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And some of the kids are really, really bright. And it's a shame to just see that their parents will say to them, "What you doing? Don't go uni." I'm not trying to stereotype them, but they say, "What are you going uni for? Do you think you're better than us? We held down a job. Just go and do the same job we're doing," when some of these kids are really, really bright. So it was good to be able to go in there and speak with them, and heard a lot of stories, and some of them very racist, some of them very fascist and all the rest, but these were kids just expressing what they know, and a lot of it's coming from their homes. So a lot of them will live in high rises, we say council flats, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I live on the 3rd floor, my nan lives on the 1st floor, my auntie lives on the 5th floor." You realise that they're all living so closely together.
Oh, wow.
And
it's a community, isn't it? All right, so I can see where you've coming from. You've practically spent like 20 years amongst young people and that sort of thing, haven't you? And with your career guidance, so you've really had some serious experience, especially with your 10 years in uni, and with this community thing that you're doing. So where are you now? What is it that you're doing right now?
Okay, so I did a lot of volunteer work as well, because when I worked for City University, it wasn't in a part-time basis. Then as the children got older, I was able to take some voluntary jobs. And I've always been interested in marginalised young people in society. Now, I am, well, according to sociologists, and this ain't my rules, but this is their rules in terms of how they categorise me. I'm coming from Tottenham, so I'm considered working class. I'm coming from uneducated immigrants. So I'm, of that social state.
You say uneducated immigrants?
Yeah, that's sorry about that. They look at it that way because my parents don't have a degree. None of my parents had a degree. So, and they didn't even really have high school diplomas. So the way they'll categorize me is almost a Western society. I hate to say this, but that's just I don't take it on, but it's how they categorize people. So I'm a female, yeah, I'm Black, and I'm working class. So these are the main pointers in society where people are disadvantaged. So bearing in mind that, for my education and these widening participation schemes that I have been working on myself, I see how important it is for the government to keep track of these sort of trends, because this is how they know how well England's doing. Yeah, they want to know what the young people are thinking. They want to know how many uneducated, young people are out there that needs to empower themselves or get themselves some sort of qualification. Because if this country is more educated in terms of, literacy, mathematics, like Germany and certain other Western European countries, obviously they'll be a much more productive country. I mean, they're rich already, but they want to push those boundaries. So anyway, knowing that, I've wanted to always go out my way to make a difference, and particularly to marginalised young people, regardless of race and gender, because, we can look at young working class white boys. They're seen as people falling through the net and failing in the system too. So, we all have our little areas where, the government can pinpoint and say, well, failing's going there. They're not sure why. Same with other areas. Then you've got other immigrant children, such as Asians, coming from not Bangladesh so much, but more India and Pakistan, who will come out with parents who will push them, and they're highly educated. So they've done very well. So in general, the sort of voluntary work I've done is work with more marginalized children, even though I've worked with those who are very talented and gifted as well. So what I'm trying to do now is set up a supported living unit. I understand housing is a problem in London. We have a major problem in London with housing. And one of the biggest problems is the cost of housing. Yep. So the government has done a lot to help that by, as you can see, most petrol forecourts are now turned into flats. Yeah. And developed. So they are trying their best. And we're pretty much becoming like America. We're having to go up rather than, as we traditionally have in England, normal blocks now and flats, skyscrapers and all that. As you can see, the skyline of London's changing. So I just want to try and help young people. So I'm looking at those leaving care, but not just leaving care, with complex needs. And what I mean by complex needs, which are those who has some social, financial, and mental and disability about them. Because I feel these are people who falls through the net in our society.
So we neglected. I feel like they're neglected.
Yeah, I mean, they get a lot of funding and a lot of support while they're children, but after they pass 18, you don't really see them. I ask a question: when last have you seen a Down syndrome adult? Have you ever seen a Down syndrome?
No, I haven't, to be honest.
There you go. Absolutely. That's the first question I ask people. And everyone says, I don't ever see a Down syndrome adult. But when we were younger, we saw Down syndrome, or you might see Down syndrome's children, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
right. As adults, because they're just either die, they're high mortality rate, their life is a lot, their life expectancy is a lot shorter than ours, but also because they're institutionalized and just locked away, and nobody wants to know because their parents die, and who's there to really take care of them other than institutions? So even though I don't work directly with people with Down syndrome, I do work with people more with disability. As time goes on, that might be something that I may be able to take up and do. But the registration, that you can understand it, is social care, is quite a long process. And they want you to be all set up and ready to go. And they come and inspect you, then they go away, then they come back and inspect you and answer all these questions, check all your regulations, because I want to be a registered one. I'm not just going to do it. There are halfway houses where you don't need to be registered, but I'm going for registration. And then once, I get the registration, then I have to start tendering for contracts, and they're government contracts. So it's
all
not
paperwork,
very bureaucratic, a lot of bureaucracy. So that's where I am at the moment. And I have a unit, and I give thanks to God for that. It's a nice one, because I talk about aesthetic supported living, and people think, what do you mean by aesthetic? I said, well, people like, and they said
again,
aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people say, what the hell is that? Why do you add aesthetic to it? I said, why not? We all know, we all have nice houses. We want to have nice homes to live in. Why can't they? Why can't we give them a beautiful home? They go, but these people are mad. They're just going to smash the place up. And it's not because they're mad, but they do have behavioral problems. So they're quite challenging in that way. But I do believe that if you treat someone in a certain way and have them grow up to respect the home they live in and their living environment, that they're not gonna want to just go out their way to smash it for the sake of just smashing it. So a lot of the time, I've worked in many organizations, and there's no criticism of them, because I understand why they may do what they do, but they don't want to buy new furniture, and they don't want to buy good quality stuff, and the place is quite gloomy and it doesn't look too well. And so the young people who goes in there treats it accordingly, don't they? They don't respect it. They see these are old stuff. So I just want to try something. I have an interest in that area of development. I've never thought about doing a PhD, but if I did
that was going to be my next question, because because there you are with your career guidance practitioner, and you want to work with marginalized children with their complex needs, and you've done a bit of social care. I was going to say, what's your CPD? What's your continual professional development? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, so I work in the area I work. If I'm going to be dealing with young people with learning disabilities and complex needs, they tend to have what we call as a form of what we say pervasive developmental disorder. So we're looking at autism, and you probably hear autism is growing. When I was growing up, I never heard of autism. It's only more recent years, every other person I know, oh, my child's got autism. You understand? So I think it's got something to do with our lifestyle, our modern lifestyle. That's probably, caused this condition. But
it's been recognized, isn't it, in different, because it's got so many different levels where it would, before you had to be high on the spectrum before they recognized it. Now you can have low level autism as well.
Absolutely. And you said the right word. It's on a spectrum. It's autism spectrum disorder. It's on a spectrum, meaning that there's mild, moderate and high. So those needs. So behind that are psychologists and psychiatrists who are working with them to try and understand them, because it's still a phenomenon to man why these brain disorders and why they behave this way. They have some idea, but it's not a mental health problem. And the thing is this: a lot of people tend to mix up people with learning disabilities or pervasive, as they say, pervasive, developmental disorders with mental health. And health, and the reason why they mix it up sometimes is because of the stigma attached to mental health. So if anybody sort of behaves a certain way or may look a certain way, it's easy for people to think, well, when I talk to that person, they don't seem like they're all there. They seem a bit off. And I say, well,
so they have to be mental.
Yes. So that's the first thing that's not right. The way they talk, the way they behave, they get angry quickly. It's mental health. But what a lot of people need to know, and this is another thing I want to do, is bring a lot of awareness, is that I'm not saying they can't develop mental problem, because I can develop mental problem. You can. Anyone can develop mental problem.
Yeah.
Or above it. Yeah. But, I couldn't say that whether a particular person with learning disability will develop mental problem later on in life. They may do, but there is a distinct difference, and that is that pervasive developmental disorders are, as what do we call it now? It's the word has slipped my mind, but anyway, it's from birth. So what's the term they use? It's just a technical word they use. It's it'll come back to me, but anyway, it's normally from birth. Whereas people could have mental health problem when they were born. They were born and considered to be as normal, so they're falling in the box of norms in society, and then they may have a stressor such as a bereavement, a death, marriage, divorce, loss of job, unemployment, or an accident that has caused them to be so stressed to the point that they have a breakdown. And then, they're diagnosed with, okay, you've got a breakdown, then they may start to behave in certain ways, or they could be paranoia. Then the psychiatrist, I'm no psychiatrist, I don't know their terms, but they come with so much different diagnosis. You understand? Everything just drugs as well can impair the mind and how people behave. So that's the main thing I want to do. I want to I want to stop this stigma about mental health, as well as people with learning disability. But I do think it's really important people understand that there is a distinct difference still, between the two.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You've alluded to having a unit already. So you live in East London. Is your unit in that area?
No, it's in an area that I'm very familiar with, and that's in North London, where I grew up.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so is this unit actually functioning now, or you're setting it up?
I'm setting it up. I've been really slow about it because of COVID, and because I had some crisis myself just before COVID. I lost my dad, my mother-in-law, and my own mother within 13 months of each other, one after each other.
Okay.
13
So
months.
you're top 5 most stressful things anyway.
Yeah.
And then you're taking on this big project. Excuse me, you're a big and brave woman.
Sorry. Yeah. Then COVID came, and even though that's an area of where that continued to operate, and a lot of people in care still had to be tended to. I worked for another company, and I often do consultancy for another company as well, because these units tend to be 6 bedrooms, because you need to make it operate well. You need to have sleeping quarters for staff. And if you're going to have 4 people, like we say residents or service users in a unit, you're going to need at least 2 to 3 staff on a daily basis, but at least maybe 2 at night, to make sure that everything's going to be all right, and to assure them that you're 24 hours, because it is a 24-hour care.
Of course it is. Do you know, and there are so many stipulations, so many things that you need to cover. I mean, I don't know your one in particular, but I have got a friend that has got a nursing home.
Right.
Do you know? And from in the kitchen, where it's all the different color chopping boards, do you know, the bathrooms that they need certain handles and things like that. So I can't imagine the list of things that you have got to work through,
Yeah, you're correct. Really hard. But where your friend may be concerned, it sounds like she's dealing with people, or maybe people that's older than the age group that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right. So that is a lot of regulation, a lot of work involved. Because I'm dealing with young people. I'm not, the unit I have set up at the moment is not for somebody with mobility issues. They've got to be able to, be physically fit. It's just the learning disability part of it. So it's the pervasive, developmental disorder, where they may have the age, they may be 21, but they've got the mental capacity age of a maybe 7 or 8 year old. Do you understand? But about them is perfectly formed and developed. So a female will have a period, she'll have breasts, she'll mature. But it's the brain, it's that part of it that hasn't developed. Yeah. So you look at it, very normal. And I'm not saying they're not, but people may not know until they talk to them and they realize that they're not able to engage in stations or internet, everything. Yeah. So that's how we know the difference. Sometimes you can't tell, but sometimes you can. Because what we're trying to do is make the homes as pretty much non-institutionalized. We want it to be a home in the community, because we want them to live in the community amongst.
So is these units like going to be like their permanent? Sorry, was you saying something, Sugar? I didn't mean to.
No, you carry on, darling.
So are these units like as their permanent living, or is it like as a transitional from out of care and getting them into independent living? Is it just like a pass through kind of thing?
I want to. In my case, you said, Beverly, because I'm dealing with a younger cohort, dealing with young people from 16. Well, just leaving, when they're leaving care after 16 up to 25 years old, yes, it's all about transition and preparing them to live an independent lifestyle. Now, some of those young people, because it's not just people with autism or Asperger's, it's going to be people with trauma, young people with trauma, or as we call it, social and emotional mental health issues. So it could be that, they're coming from war-torn countries, if they're, refugees fleeing, or it could be that they're English bred, but they've never lived with their parents because they've had issues at home. So sometimes they feel abandoned and rejected. So they, develop behavioral problems. And then it's just them to become independent and accept where they are in life, and try and engage with them to develop the skills they may have, because everybody's got skills.
Yeah.
A life for themselves, a life. Yeah. So yeah, they've got from 16 to 25, there's a 9-year period there. Yeah, I think that's quite a long period. For those who are not autistic, or I'll say most are autistic, I'm looking at that probably be the ones with higher needs. I would expect them to be with us from the age of maximum 2021, from 16. You understand? If we're doing a good job, and I hope that we will be doing a good job, we'll be able to help them move on to live have young.
Okay, it's as if you're reading my mind, because I'm like, okay, so they're with you for the 9 years. They're proud of their home. It's like a family home. They're proud to be there. You're going to have to be working with other agencies like.
I was going to ask that as well. The other professionals that you probably have to work with,
Yeah. So how do you link up with those, or is that part of the registration of being a supportive living place? Does that all come hand in hand?
Not quite, but some of them do. So look, we've got grey areas here. So with people with pervasive disorders, developmental disorders, some of them, especially when it's moderate to severe, they will never be able to live independently, fully, because they may not know how to operate a gas or electric cooker.
So they'll be a danger to themselves, if they go by themselves.
So is that? Oh, ladies, sadly, we're coming to the end of this interview, and I'm really interested, right? So when they're in this supported living with you, will you be developing their paying bills and rents? Do you know that side?
So ours will have a program. Yeah, we will have a program. It's a transitional program. But I'm just saying that, we're going to have a transitional program. So it's about, as a career guidance practitioner, I really want to try and help them make the most out of the skills and talents they have. And with skills, things like knowing how to make a healthy meal every day. Yeah, also personal care. That's very important.
Yeah.
This is the issue where in society people think, oh, they're mad. Why? Because they smell. You understand? Or look at the way they're dressed.
Yeah.
So personal hygiene is going to be really important, because they've got to be kept looking well, and that's the norms in our society. Because sometimes, because I've worked with them already, they'll say, I don't care. If they see that you are, there, and you say, go on, that looks nice on you. Oh, let me just brush your hair back. Then they're happy for you to do it. But if you need them to do it, some of them, these are the moderate ones we're talking about, moderate to more higher. They'll sit, won't do nothing. They won't wash themselves. Ladies won't change their period pads, sanitary towel. Them sort.
What about would be people that's on medication, and they might not have the mental capacity to make sure they take the medication as they need to. So, what do you have carers that will come in and do stuff like that, or?
We do that. So
the dreaded mandatory training, because you're going to need update on the development, or not even the development, but the new things that they recognize in the disorders, because they're forever finding new things, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is the psychiatrist and the psychologist. So we work with positive behaviour support plans. But for me, it's about being able to meet their needs, and believe that myself and my team, working together, will be able to make a positive difference to this young person's life.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ladies, we've definitely reached the stage where we need to come offline now. Okay, that was so interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing your unit open up fully, and you have your positive behavior support plan in place.
Then after about 3 months of getting to know them, watching them, observing them, then we can start to write a positive behavior support plan to support them. So yes, it's a lot of work.
for us to finish on now. So do you know what? Next time, Beverly, you're going to have to say when we finish, okay? Set the timer. I'm forever saying thank you and goodbye. That's
but thanks a lot for coming on, Kay. Thanks you for coming and sharing what you're doing. And see, I get to know more about Imagine now. But anyway, yeah, that's another story in itself. But yeah,
it's not even another story. That's what it's all about. We know all you lovely people. We got no idea what you're up to.
Yeah.
So it's really good to hear.
But thank you for having me and listening to what I had to say. Have a good evening now.
Yeah, you
all right,
too.
And same to you. Thank you very much. Bev, do you want to say your thing about the subscribe button?
Oh yeah, because we're supposed to be saying all these keywords and we're not been saying it. But yeah, but we're thanking everyone for the support that they've been supporting, watching our network and helping it to grow. And people that's coming on, like guests like yourself that come on and share your stories, because these are all things that's going to help the community grow. And if you really have an interest in what you're seeing and you're liking it and you're enjoying it, press the like button, subscribe, and what else? And share.
And share.
And share.
It's got a subscribe button, bottom right-hand side.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, thank you. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, all right, bye. Bye.